Industry Talks by ARC Advisory Group.
Welcome to ARC Industry Talks, the monthly podcast where ARC keeps you up to date on the latest industry news and trends. My name is David Humphrey. I'm a research director here at ARC Europe, and I'm happy to have for the very first time in the studio with me my esteemed colleague, Jan Burian. Jan, welcome.
Thank you, David. Thank you for having me. Welcome.
Jan joined ARC this year, but Jan is a well-known face in the industry. We've known each other for many years, actually, and now we're colleagues. Very, very happy to have you. All right, Jan, we've been getting around recently. There's been a lot of events. Last month, we covered the ARC Forum and the Hanover Fair. You've been to a number of events, and you've had a couple of interesting key takeaways. Can you tell us where you've been and what you've seen?
Yeah, sure. But before I start, let me tell you that I'm really excited, right, about my new role and about collaborating with such a professionals like you and colleague of ours. So yeah. So again, thanks a lot.
Great.
So, and when it comes for the events, right? So yeah, I mean, last several months were really very rich on the events provided by the industrial tech vendors, right? So let me just share some takeaways or brief takeaways from Aviva World, which was happening actually in Milano in Italy. Quite like a significant flagship event of the company, and naturally, I mean, a lot of talks were just circling around the Connect platform, about the news related to the platform, particularly as my focus here in ARC is on digital twin most of the time, mostly, right? So I try to follow the messages related to the digital twin, and which actually included at the event the presentation of Twin Builder. And what also stood out and was also interesting for me was that move toward a graph-based architectures, right? So that's actually helping the users, the engineers, or the users, but also the technology itself to understand industrial data in a context. That's really like a groundbreaking thing, right? So even if it's on the market for some time, but it's important also for the audience to understand, I mean, where it's heading. On top or beyond this, like a Connect platform, digital twin, what stood out was also there several announcements, right? So probably one of the biggest announcements was the collaboration with IFS, right? Where Aviva is providing that connected operational intelligence, while IFS is providing the software side of the asset performance management and service and service management part, right? Then another announcement was related to the Aviva and Snowflake. That's about the Connect or integration between Connect and Snowflake's AI data cloud. Aviva's collaboration also or partnership with AWS. That's related to the strategy of going multi-cloud. And there was also one acquisition announced, and that was a acquisition of TwinThread, right? Which, I mean, is supposed to strengthen the Aviva's data analytics and AI foundation, right? So bringing even like a more analytics and AI capabilities to Connect. So that was actually for Aviva.
Wow, that's quite a lot. I've been to Aviva events in the past. They're fascinating. Aviva is a powerhouse of industry software. When I think of all the brands, from Wonderware up until all of the Schneider brands that were taken up into Aviva, it's incredible what their offering is. Their greatest challenge, I would say, is to get everything to work together to integrate it properly.
Yeah, and by the way, maybe one important thing from like a business perspective that Aviva's also, I mean, one of the part of the strategy is also to focus on a Chinese market, right? So to let's say develop in China for Chinese market. That was something that was quite interesting for me.
Yeah.
Right.
All right. Tell me, what other events have you been to? You've been traveling, like we said.
Yeah, quite a lot. I just got back from a Dassault event that took place in Darmstadt, Germany, like last week, through the experience. And that was, I mean, for those who follow the soul, it's clear that it was very focused on a virtual twin and rated capabilities of the digital of the virtual twin. What was amplified was also the AI physics-based models, right? So, like general challenge with AI is like a lack of trust of engineers, especially in this group, because they are seeing those like AI powered solutions more as like a black box, right? So there's really like it's super important to provide that the AI physics into the model to get the trust also from the engineers, right? So that was the one thing. The other was also the presentation of so-called AI companions. So not the, I would say, pretty much probably could be similar to like a co-pilot, right? But the companions are actually divided into different roles, right? So there's a companion called Aura, which is like a business analyst. Then there's a Leo, it's like a Leonardo, right? So that's a design engineer, and Mary is a scientific assistant, right? So like they really provide or introduce like a different companions for different roles. This is something I would say pretty unique, right, in this industrial context.
All right.
What about you, David? Do you have any news for us then?
Yeah, I haven't been traveling, but I've been studying the news a lot, and I've been following some really interesting product introductions. I want to mention Siemens Eigen Engineering Agent. We saw this for the first time at the Hanover Fair, but I want to say something about the topic in general. And what is an engineering agent? It's a generative AI powered assistant. That's what I'd like to think of it as, like my little research assistant that's designed specifically for industrial automation. And it's significant because it marks a major shift, a major trend that has only been around for 3 years. It was 3 years ago that, once again, Siemens introduced the industrial co-pilot. This was also a Gen AI assistant that uses a large language model that automation engineers can communicate with the way we're used to doing now. But back then, everything was new. We use this all the time in our daily lives now to solve problems around the house. But automation engineers for 3 years have used this to help them design code, to structure and organize their programs, to find examples of similar code written a long time ago that will fit this function that I need right now. What it's basically there to develop and optimize code for around the engineering tools of in this case of Siemens, but other suppliers have followed suit. We see copilots pretty much everywhere, but now Siemens is going to the next level basically by switching to this idea of an engineering agent. It took me a while to figure out what the difference is. A copilot helps engineers think and work faster, like we're used to. But an engineering agent actually does the engineering work for them themselves. In this case, the industrial copilot that we mentioned it's a broad cross-domain assistant that works all across the ecosystem that Siemens likes to call accelerator. You could say it's a human-centric tool because it's conversational. I can talk with it like I'm talking with you right now. Eigen Engineering Agent, on the other hand, is a specialized assistant that's deeply integrated into the engineering tool TIA portal and understands function blocks, data types, HMI screens, and hardware configurations. And whereas the Copilot makes suggestions on what to do, the Eigen Engineering Agent can actually execute full automation engineering tasks autonomously.
You still consider to have like a human in a loop, right? So-called, right? So
yes,
it's still like the human element is still important in, let's say, validation and I would say,
exactly.
most of the time like a validation, right?
I don't know anybody that would just allow an agent to generate code, put it on the machine, and run it. We might be going there. That would be full autonomy. But this is a step with which most of us will learn to feel comfortable. In the meantime, having more and more of the repetitive automation project tasks in all areas, not just one area of code, be done for me.
Which I believe it's really important to amplify, because I mean there are also some like people who would say, all right, so it's agent, it's provide that level of autonomy that it goes everything like automatically somewhere on the background, right? So of the process, which is actually not the case for now, right? So maybe we are heading there in the future, but definitely not in the short term.
Yeah,
Seems like that, right? And by the way, because you're the expert, right? So tell me, what about the software-defined automation? How is that like connected to such like a copilot or engineering?
They go hand in hand.
Assistant,
There's basically a very simple equation. Software-defined automation plus AI is equal to autonomous operations. So the autonomous operations is a long-term goal. It's a utopia of everything working by itself, and it doesn't have to reach that goal, but it would be nice to get pretty close to it. But in order to get there, I need to have my environment defined in software. I need to have everything running on standardized hardware to give me the flexibility to move my software around and to make data accessible everywhere. The AI is the other element in the equation. A plus B equals C, and the AI is creeping in everywhere and greatly increasing and improving my efficiency in achieving the steps to necessary to create an automation project.
Right, David. What about the webinars? I mean, we have several of them ahead, right? So planned. So could you tell us like more in detail? I mean, what can we expect then?
We have a whole series of really interesting webinars. We've gotten a lot of good feedback on our webinars. We have a lot of clients telling us, keep it up. These are a great way to find out what's going on, to take a deeper dive into topics that we might have covered at the forum, but can be expanded on a little bit by talking about to users about the technology and how they apply it. Let me just list a couple. We have coming up on July 1st. We have at 10:30 a.m. Central European time, that's Germany time, machine building at a strategic crossroads. This is a build-on of the first machine building session that we had at the forum. It's organized by our new colleague, Paolo Scarabelli, who came to us from Tetra Pak. He worked for, it's over 30 years, it's closer to 38, I think. He's a very, very experienced person in machine building. And we've done work for Tetra Pak in the past. I remember they were, in the research work that I did, they were building 1,100 machines a year. I mean, this is a lot. Times 2 PLCs per machine. I like to be that PLC salesman. We're going to do, on this particular topic, machine building, not just one, but a series of 5 webinars over the course of the next year. The next one will be in September, October, probably in December. The series will then culminate at the ARC European Industry Forum in Spain once again in May of next year in 2027. So we're going to keep building on this series of topics that we developed. Just for next week's webinar, we have Paolo's old colleagues from Italy. We have Stefano Flore, who's the manager of automation and packaging equipment at Tetra Pak. We have Gianpaolo Crasta. This guy is the head of Uchima. Uchima is if you're familiar with the organizations here in Europe, we have VDMA here in Germany. This is the Society of German Engineering or German Machine Builders, depending how you want to translate it. But it's basically a club for machine builders to learn about and share technologies. The same thing exists in Italy called Uchima, and he's going to be in the podcast, in the webcast. And we have Riccardo Necci, he's an independent advisor. He was previously with SIPA and with CIDEL, and CIDEL is a competitor to these beverage manufacturing companies. So basically the topics we cover will range from AI to digital twins to secure connectivity, software-defined automation, and we hope that the people will join for all five, just on the one topic. Let me go to some of the other ones coming up on July 10th, which is in about 3 weeks from now. This is my webcast, actually. The title is Towards Continuous Development on the Factory Floor, Approaches for Virtualized Control System. I'm very happy to have soon-to-be Doctor of Engineering Moritz Walker, who is a researcher at the University of Stuttgart in the Department for Machine Tools. Moritz presented at our forum, and he took a very, very, I'm going to say, academic, detailed look at the performance potential and caveats of running virtualized control systems. This is really, really interesting, and I'm very happy that he's going to join me for a podcast. And then on July 16th, we have From Brownfield to Smart Factory, Leadership, Digital Transformation, and the Power of AI. This particular podcast features insights from Ingo Hild. He's a plant manager at Osram, and he's going to look into how decades-old manufacturing facilities for his company were transformed into smart, digitally enabled operations through the combination of leadership, operational expertise, and innovative technologies. All right, Jan, now it's time to switch gears. We're going to get up and leave the studio, but we're going to put on a pot of coffee for our colleagues, Florian and Luciano, and they're going to take us through a deep dive into the area of recycling.
Hello and welcome back. I'm here with my colleague Luciano, who has worked on the topic of advanced recycling. And I think the whole topic started at a dinner event in 24 at the ACHEMA show in Frankfurt, where we met a lot of users and suppliers in that area. So you studied that topic. What do you want to share with us?
Yeah, well, the topic evolved a little bit, and actually it turned more into plastic circularity rather than advanced recycling, because we saw that it's not only about recycling. There are other concepts around circularity that were affecting our clients.
Circularity, recycling, don't mix it up, right? What? What is the difference? So what is... where you draw the line between circularity and recycling? Is it the material, the process, or?
Yeah, I think usually people, and to be honest, also myself, confuse or exchange those words, circularity and recycling. I think it's because of the word circularity. It makes you feel around, I will be reusing a material. But circularity is much more than that. So circularity is about minimizing the waste, the impact that you will do in the environment by minimizing the waste or minimizing the usage of materials that you are using in your product. So it's not only about recycling. Actually, recycling, I would say it's a small part, and not even the first one related to circularity concept. So circularity should start at the very beginning of a product design. And from there, you can already start how we are going to minimize the usage of resources and the waste that you will have. Is it because you're doing... just by doing a smaller product, you're using less materials, or to change the materials that have a lower carbon footprint, or to design, for example, a product that is more easy to maintain or to last long.
Or to recycle.
Or at some point to recycle.
So circularity starts with the design of a product. And basically ends at the end of the life cycle. And with product, it can be everything. It can be a table, it can be a cup, it can be the packaging.
PLC.
PLC,
also,
yes,
that's correct.
And recycling basically starts at the trash can and ends with the raw material that can be reused.
Exactly, yeah.
So ACHEMA 24, that's a long time to now.
Seems like,
Yeah. What kind of study that would you? That was very intense.
Well, the approach that I took was first to reach out to end users or owner operators we were starting to talk about plastic circularity. And the first thing that I wanted to understand is, okay, how is this affecting the owner-operators or the end users? And so
the owner-operators, that would be a recycling company or a chemical company. Is that the owner-operator, or what kind of...
In this case, it's an interesting question, because there are different type of companies that reach out.
Yes.
So a recycling company, for example, Green, they offer advanced recycling solution.
Yes.
But it also affected our clients, our solution providers, like Schneider, for example, as a final user of, or how can I say, of circular economy approach, because they are actually using circularity approach in their own products. To explore how is this approach affecting the way they design the product. So I actually had also discussion with them and other solution providers.
Just for our audience, Green, probably not many people know that that's a company from Italy. Right, so Franco presented that at our forum in Sitges, May the 4th this year. And they have developed a new process to recycle textiles and fiber. Yeah. So you know what we're talking about here.
Yes. So I explored different concepts of circularity. At the end, I focus more in recycling and advanced recycling. Because I think that was more related to the kind of studies that we do, and also to my background as I'm coming more from the process industry. So I focus at the end more into advanced recycling of plastics.
Now, you said you focused on recycling, but what part of the recycling? I'm pretty sure you're not focused on how the city of Munich collects the garbage, but then you have the mechanical process of it. Crushing, grinding, sorting, whatever. And then you have a chemical process as well, or metallurgic processes. So what did you focus on exactly in this value chain of recycling?
So I started to ask myself, what kind of recycling process are there? What I learned is that mechanical recycling of plastics represents more than 90 or 95% of the plastics that are today recycled.
In Europe or global?
Globally. But there are new technologies and new plants that are being constructed around advanced recycling. And for advanced recycling, you have two groups, I will say. One is physical and the other one is chemical.
Long time ago in school, I was really focusing on chemistry and physics and the like, so I understand the basics, but what kind of processes are you really... We're not talking of just burning the plastics, right?
No, that's the last thing you want to do.
Okay, so we have physical processes, we have chemical processes. Could you please elaborate and educate me a bit?
Yeah, sure. So and you have mechanical process. So the most classic recycling process is the mechanical one, and it represents 90 or 95% of today recycling of plastic recycling. But there are other processes that are being explored, which are called advanced recycling. One is physical recycling and the other one is chemical recycling. So physical recycling, what they do, they use solvents to dilute the plastic, and it helps to actually recycle plastics that you couldn't recycle through the mechanical process. It has its challenges. Like, for example, not all solvents are applicable for all plastics. So you need to be very careful what kind of plastic you're feeding the plant. And the other challenge that I found is, what do you do with that solvent? Because
it's quite a nasty fluid afterwards.
Exactly. So if you dispose that solvent, what are you doing? So you need to treat that solvent. You can use it again in your plant. The other process that is there is the chemical recycling. The chemical recycling involves a chemical reaction. And the most well-known, and I will say it, is also a mature process because it has been in the process industry already for a long time, is the pyrolysis process. And the pyrolysis process, basically what you do is you heat up the plastic in the absence of oxygen. So what you get at the end is very interesting. You have the pyrolysis oil. And the pyrolysis oil can actually be used as a feedstock into a refinery.
All right, cool. So this is the technical part. You looked at the solutions and everything. You probably also looked at the market. So you wrote what kind of study on that exactly? Then?
So I did a champions radar
Right.
on to understand how solution providers are responding to the technical challenges that the owner operators have.
Yeah.
To identify what are the leaders in the industry. I also did a research on the market to get some understanding. Okay, what is the growth that is expected?
What
How
is the
big is?
growth?
So sadly,
Oh.
there are bad news and good news as well. For the environment, the bad news I will say is that the growth of the percentage of plastic that is being recycled is not increasing as expected. So today worldwide is 10%.
So 10% of the plastics that is used is recycled.
Yes, that's right.
And that percent is not really increasing.
It's not increasing that much. So why is this? There is actually a very small growth expected for the mechanical recycling that is mainly focused on China and Asia. There is a decrease actually for mechanical recycling industry in Europe. And what I understand is mainly because of the low cost of raw materials coming from outside Europe that are being imported and the high cost of production that are here. But the good news, at least for the solution providers, is that there is a much higher growth expected for the advanced recycling facilities. Keep in mind, we are talking about a very small percent of today recycling. So it's 1995 is mechanical. There is a small percent there going into the advanced recycling. And in Europe, CEFIC was estimating investment around 8 billion euros until 2030 to construct these new facilities.
Who's CEFIC?
CEFIC is a European Chemical Council.
Okay, so the end users of the
exactly
chemical end users. That's what you work with them as well.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, we actually brought them to CITES in 2024. So they are expecting investments around chemical recycling, and this could generate a lot of opportunities for the solution providers.
The drivers or the lack of drivers, what are they? Is it political? Is that economic? You mentioned like in Europe, the economic driver that they get comparably cheaper to new like material coming in, but is legislation driving as well? Or?
The main reasons that I found is, first of all, cost, financing, and also there is no clarity around legislation. So after interviews that I had with owner operators or end user companies that are designing and fabricating these plants, these pyrolysis plants, for example, what they say is that more than a technical challenge, the main challenge they have is to get the money to found and scale up their solutions. They estimate a return of investment around 8 to 10 years. And when you compare that with digital solutions that maybe the ROI is much, much more faster, the money is going into that direction rather than into this direction. They are struggling a lot to get the funding to scale up this, because keep in mind that physical recycling and chemical recycling are very capital intensive plants. So you need to invest quite a lot of money to get them work.
Besides the money, which is always a challenge, any other challenge that they did share with you? Or
yeah, well, I try to focus more on the technical challenges, because what I wanted to do is to then evaluate how the solution providers are responding to these technical challenges. So I got a couple that I think are worth to share with the solution providers. For example, in a mechanical recycling plant, you usually have a lot of machines that need to be orchestrated in the same facility. So solutions that are following open standards, for example, or MTP, that are easy to interconnect and that the owner operator can easily manage. I think this is something that solution providers should look for to offer. For physical recycling, and I will say especially for chemical recycling, these are very energy intensive processes because you need to heat up that plastic, and you can imagine this is consuming a lot of energy. It does not make much sense if you want to reduce the carbon footprint of plastic while you are using a lot of energy, a lot of energy.
LNG in, yeah.
So any solution related to electrification or energy efficiency, energy management systems, these are processes that are very close to the chemical processes that are very well known. So I think solutions around this will be very valued by the owner
I
operators.
remember a discussion I once had with a user, and he says, because I did the energy research a long time ago, and they really said an energy efficient process is also a smooth process, is an efficient process, and it's also, well, nice to the equipment. So it's always good to work on energy efficiency. When you mentioned a couple of technologies here, can you relate the recycling industry to other industries when it comes to adoption of open standards, adoption of digital twin? Are they advanced? Are they behind? Where are they?
But I think they can use the examples that are coming from, for example, the pharma industry. We know that they are very pushing for this concept of MTP, model type package. I think they could look for solutions like this, and there are industries that are more mature.
Yeah.
So the chemical recycling, physical recycling, although these are processes that are well known, the facilities are new. They could follow the example of the oil and gas industry and how they work with digital twins, and to increase the efficiency in their processes and the energy consumption. So I think they could look also into these industries as well as a reference.
So you talked about the market from the user side and what's developing there with legislation and with the economic factors that play a role. Do you have an estimate how the market for solution providers is growing?
Well, I know an estimate of how the investments are growing for example, for advanced recycling, and we estimated around 15 or 20% of growth for this industry. But keep in mind that this is a very niche market that is growing.
20% growth in a market where some people are happy when we have 3 or 5 is big. But
also related to the size of the market, because it's a very niche market, I will say. So only in Europe, they're estimating 8 billion around until 2030. Yeah. So, but to keep in mind, on the other hand, the market around mechanical recycling is much lower. As I said, in Europe, is actually shrinking. It was reduced around, I think, 300,000 tons of recycling capacity last year, but there is a higher growth expected maybe in China or Southeast Asia.
Yeah, but still, I mean, we follow a lot of markets. We do the research, and we said it so many times. The times of these big growth market are over, right? So that you remember the BRICS, Brazil, Russia, they were pulling the whole world economy, the whole world of automation for decades, basically. But that has stopped. So now a market where you say for our industry, for the solution providers, being it an OEM or being it a technology or an automation company, when you have a market that's growing with 15-20%, even if it's small, that's a big opportunity.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
All right. Thank you, Luciano, for the time. Also showing that sustainability
matters,
and recycling and economic success and growth don't need to be contradicting each other. Could you, as closing that podcast here, could you explain what are your next steps in this area and what are your other research topics you're going to follow over the next weeks and months?
Yeah, we want to continue the communication with the owner operators and see what kind of challenges are they facing, whether it's with plastic recycling or other topics. And in relation to sustainability, the topics that I'm working right now is the electrification market study, estimating what are the capital expenses around these initiatives, different regions in the world. And also we're planning to do a study focus on energy storage, which based on the interviews that I actually had with other owner operators and users, understood that this is a critical technology to achieve these objectives of electrification and lowering the carbon footprint.
Okay. Thank you, Luciano. A lot of research. In the show notes, we'll link the website and everything where you can find that. And thank you so much. And let's finish our coffee here.
Yeah, sure. You're welcome. And thanks everyone for listening.
Industry Talks by ARC Advisory Group.